Hello and welcome to Stay Hungry. This is Ahead of the Game. I'm Fergus and this is Andy.
Hello.
And what are we talking about today?
Oh, right. Oh, caught me off guard now. No, what we're going to talk about today is the importance of who you hang around with, because who you hang around with matters a lot. And that's in person, old school, or online as well. Who you hang around, your social networks, things like that.
Oh, I was going to say, like, one of my first points is, like, these days, not necessarily who you're talking to, especially during COVID.
Lockdown. Come on. All cards on the table. You and Kaylee, lockdown. It could have been a lot worse, or you absolutely hated it.
I'm like the controversial. I kind of loved it, but not for the wrong reasons.
Oh, go on.
But I spent a lot of time in my village. So I moved 2 years ago, but I didn't know what was 2 streets down the road. So I basically tasked myself for the first 2 months I didn't leave Dorrington.
Right.
Period. Didn't go to the shops. Didn't leave Dorrington. So I found loads of cool walks. I was outside loads. I met like the community like from a distance, and it was really nice. We discovered loads of cool bits and pieces in the town that we had no idea were there.
Nice.
And I'm still trying to make myself do that rather than drive into town, because there's shops in Dorrington and places to go.
You've got a lovely pub, the Horseshoes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that back open now?
It is, yeah, and they're doing really, really well from what I can tell. So that's awesome, and they do a lot of good social distancing and stuff, which is really nice to see, because they could easily not, because it's in the middle of nowhere.
They've got that cool glass panel in the floor where you can like stand on it, but you can look down and see the wine cellar, can't you?
Every time I go there with my godson, he freaks out about that.
That's well, cool. Yeah, so I've got to be honest, me, my wife, my children, obviously once you got over the shock, and there's lots of business stuff going on naturally. But yeah, the weather was nice. I was in the garden working, got to spend lots of time with Emma and the kids, and lots of walks with the dogs. Yeah. And I mean, the most important thing is our families are happy and healthy. But yeah, it was, I got to really enjoy it. To be honest, it became almost like a bit institutionalised. It was strange coming back to the business part.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's loads of things that you can take away that were negative about it, sure. But if you don't use it as a learning experience, like you've said a million times, what's the point? You might as well get something positive out of it. If that's mindset, if that's healthy living. Loads of people decided to do, like even with me, I went for loads more walks. I tried to start running and I hurt myself too many times.
Oh yes, running injuries. Yeah. Which seems to be, I was talking about this with the client yesterday. They came over some social media training, and he's quite a big cyclist. He's like much better than I am. But he's saying that when he meets people he hasn't seen for like 3 months or whatever, they've gone one way or the other. Either they're sort of super skinny, or they've got quite a bit larger than they last saw them. And yeah, I mean, running, I just love it. But like I say, when you get shin splints or knee injuries and stuff, it's.
I found out what my issue was. I had dodgy shoes.
So this is how they get you, all these trainer shops,
Well, they were good shoes when I got them, but I did a Tough Mudder with them years ago, and I think I messed them up, and there was a little bit of pressure underneath one of the soles. So I would go for a run and I'd feel amazing. I really enjoyed it.
Right.
And then the next day I couldn't walk.
Oh, right, okay.
I just had this shooting pain on my leg.
Well, you need to go to Up and Running in town and have like gait analysis and all that kind of stuff.
Where's that at?
On Mardol.
Mardol. Oh, I think I've seen it. Yeah, okay.
Really cool shop there, and they'll do proper analysis of your running and advise on the best trainers and all that stuff. Yeah,
I liked it. It was really good for it. The days I was doing it, I felt great. Like I felt really, really good mentally as well, because I went just for a really long country run, and it was awesome. I suck at running as well, like very, very.
What kind of pace were you doing then? Do you know?
I have the problem is I start out really hard.
Okay.
And I think I learned that by the last one, but I went really, really hard, and then I was dead, and I was dawdling.
So what kind of distances were you doing?
Maybe a mile. Like I'm really not a fit person.
No, that's all. I started the couch to 5K, and that was like literally running for 1 minute at a time.
Yeah, it's brutal. In the first week, it's absolutely brutal. I assume it gets better.
Absolutely. I mean, the running communities I'm a part of online, and this is part of what we're talking about, really.
Yeah.
Really positive and encouraging and supporting. And it's amazing how many people in the running community have had mental health challenges. There's quite a few people I've bumped into and started chatting to who've had problems in the past with addiction. So it's almost like they've replaced a bad addiction with a good one. Yeah, and it seems to really help them.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about it like an addiction. Once you get into it, it's definitely not one of those quick addictive things. I had to force myself to try and do it. And it was not hard to quit.
Much easier to sit and watch the athletics on the sofa and maybe have a bit of cake.
Yeah, I discovered that walking's a lot less high intensity. I could just walk a distance, and at least I get to take my dogs for it. First mistake I made was I took my dog on the run.
Which one? The lab?
Yeah, but on lead, so she'd pull me off. Oh,
okay.
That was very tiring because I was keeping her pace, not my pace.
Well, Emma now, so I walk the dogs in the morning. Emma does the afternoon walk, and what she started doing is take them into a couple of fields, letting them off the lead, and she'll do a jog. And so like a dog walk, but we're jogging, so we sort of call it dogging, but I think that's something else as well.
Yeah,
anyway, so
maybe.
moving on. So running community circles and support. I mean, lots of people, they are part of some kind of online community, whether that's even Facebook friends, LinkedIn connections, whatever. And the people you let into your circle, and let's be honest, it's your choice who you connect with, whose connection requests you accept. They can have an influence on your mindset, just like meeting people in real life.
And we're spoiled for choice at the moment. Like we say, like in the modern day, like way back when, you were basically limited to the people you work with and the people you live near. And that's it. But now you could be friends with, I mean, I've got friends in Canada, I've got friends in London, I've got friends in America, like all over the place that I regularly talk to. Because I've decided that these people, like, I have more in common with them, and geography really doesn't weigh in too much because we're all internet-focused people anyway.
So what do you do when someone gets into your online circle and it turns out that, I don't know, say there's Black Lives Matter or other political things happening, and it turns out that this person has vastly different opinions to you, which is fine. It's good to have different opinions, but maybe there are people whose opinions you just can't. You're just not comfortable with.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you ignore them? Do you ban them? Do you block them? Or do you get drawn into online rants with them?
I think I'm quite controversial with this one because I think it's a good thing.
Oh, okay.
So like I've had some harsh lessons in the last 10 years, politically speaking,
right,
of being in like an ecosystem of people who agree with me. And then this is part of what you're talking about. So I follow a lot of podcasts, and one of the really good one, it's not really marketing focused, but it's about video editing, and they're like so they're called Corridor Digital,
right?
And they're just really, really smart people who are very good at video production, but they just talk about everything.
But UK based or US?
No, they're in LA.
Oh, cool.
But basically, what they do, one of the directors brought up this point. Is that he seeks people with different opinions to himself, and he doesn't just challenge them, he will actually listen to them, and he challenges himself first. Because there's no point meeting people and being like, oh, well, your opinion's different, and I'm right, period, end of story.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to teach myself to, like, if I see opinion that is different to mine, give it a chance to stand. And there's opinions that there's no founding behind them, but there's a lot of people that have a different opinion to me who have done a lot of thinking about it. And I'll happily talk to or listen to anyone who's done some thinking, because people who think are interesting. Even if they've come out at a different outcome, doesn't mean we can't be friends.
What about if, playing devil's advocate here now, what if someone, because obviously, you know, there are grey areas and you might think something's right, someone else might think wrong, but there are some things that fundamentally, at an ethical level, I don't know, let's say, I don't know, someone who liked going off hunting and shooting things for fun, which is in some countries not illegal. I remember when I found out, I think it was James Hetfield, I'll have to say allegedly, singer of Metallica, that he was off hunting, shooting things fun. Now, I'm not saying that will keep me up at night, but it's probably not something I want in my circle.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not see that stuff. And so it's my choice whether I ban them, block, unconnect them, whatever. Whereas obviously some people can get drawn into you're wrong for doing, like, there's
a debate like that is risky. Like an open debate specifically, if you're going to challenge somebody on a post they've made. We talk about it all the time. It's best to ignore 90% of that kind of stuff, just because it might offend you, but you're just going to...
We see this with business owners, don't we? Who maybe someone criticize their business online, gives them a bad Facebook review, whatever. And sometimes, if you don't know what you're doing, you can get drawn into it. Because let's face it, you're passionate about your business, and just ends up with no one winning. Not all the time, but sometimes it's like you've just spent an entire weekend arguing with someone publicly who you're never going to reason with. Yeah. And that's probably time you could have spent with your children.
Well, we talk about all the time that your business shouldn't be for everybody, and that can apply for your personality too. It should apply to your personality. There's loads of people on this planet, and to think that everybody would agree with you is kind of insane.
It's remarkable. I think sometimes social media can give some people, I'm not going to use the word influence, but there's some people who say build up a following, or whatever platform, could even be LinkedIn. There's lots of sort of LinkedIn gurus, experts now. They get a big following behind them, and suddenly you notice their posts can start being a bit more controversial, and they're a bit more sort of trying to shove their opinions down people's throats, and always not a bit right on, that's the wrong phrase, but it's like, some of the sort of LinkedIn influence, is that one word?
That's good. I'm using that.
Like that. that we've recommended to a couple of guys at Codebreak, and they've started following them. And then now they're like, oh my God, who have you recommended this to follow? Because this person, from what I can make out, is just turned into a bit of an idiot that seems to be doing various posts and with to be honest, opinions that we collectively think are plain wrong, which is okay. But sometimes I think the power can go to your head online.
It's. I always think it's risky. It's not always wrong, but when a brand decides to go political, it has to be absolutely perfect. Like when Nike go political, they have a reason behind it, and they make success out of it. If a company just like brings their personal politics into their brand for no reason, you can alienate half your audience. Yeah, which you don't want to do, because you might not like a customer, but they might want to buy from you, and if you're just costing yourself a sale for no reason, for no benefit. Whereas when Nike bring politics into their branding, it's to show that they're bold and brave, and they're going to they're going to support something that no one else is, and they actually had a reason behind it. And I mean that they I don't know the name of the person, the footballer with the kneeling.
Yes, I was going to say Copernic or something. Yeah, I know.
But that was honestly probably one of the most influential campaigns of the last 5-10 years.
I think brands like that tend to get it right. There are some big brands that get it wrong, and on a much smaller level for local small to medium-sized businesses who just are quite happy naively to hand over the responsibility of their own brand social media to Dave in accounts because Dave's got a few Instagram followers, seems to know what he's doing. It's a risky thing because they one bad tweets that get screenshotted, even if it was well-meaning but it was misinterpreted, whatever it might be, that could almost kill a business.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you know about Dave? Also, how much does Dave know about your brand voice? Because if you're going to do that, he needs to be the biggest, he needs to be an advocate for your brand to start with. He needs to know all of your guidelines. He needs to know what the right content to engage with and what the right content is to ignore. And engaging with rough comments. Has Dave got a short temper? Is he going to reply to a comment at 8 p.m. when he's had a drink? And
we've been doing this for years, and it's difficult. Like I say, on a Friday night, there's someone who's clearly had a few drinks kicking off on social, and you have to deal with it sort of professionally, politely. But it's one of those things where sometimes you can see why people, even though this is our business, want to switch off social for a while. Like you talked about getting an analog phone, a flip phone, haven't you?
Yeah.
And it's I'm tempted to get one of those old Motorola Razors and just call and text.
I found the dream phone.
Oh, go on.
So do you remember the Nokia 3310? It was like this classic.
The little one?
Yeah. They brought out one in 2019.
Right.
That does everything you could possibly need it to do. So it's got Snake. So that's basically everything covered.
Cool.
It does calling and texting. The only thing it doesn't have, and I would have bought it by now if it doesn't have GPS in it, and I hate the idea of me being the guy who went for a hike and took my Nokia with me, and then I get lost, and anyone else in that situation would have GPS, and I'm the guy who's got the phone that doesn't have GPS.
Fair enough.
Otherwise, I'd have it by now.
I remember that phone. I think the battery life was about 3 years. You had to charge it once every 3 years.
Yeah, Joel said I could have a phone call active for 31 hours and it would still have battery.
Wow, that's amazing. Trying to explain something like that to my girls who literally walk around with a battery pack in one of their pockets because they're just always on their phones. Yeah, it's mad.
I've got a battery pack in my bag, like a big battery bank.
Have you?
Yeah, because the one time your phone runs out of battery, and it is the most inconvenient time for it to happen. So I refuse to let that happen to myself again.
Well, you're very sensible.
Yes.
So let's talk old school then. So people who you actually meet. So I know people can't really business network at the moment, but we're talking family, friends. And so I know as a business owner that mentally I need to be ahead of the game, as it were, which means being positive even during very challenging circumstances, and not rose-tinted glasses. When lockdown hit, it was shit. Joel and I had some very frank, very tense, very long conversations, but it came down to the point of, right, are we going to have a great business to come back to? Absolutely. We got people to look after, we got families, we've got employees to look after, so we're going to do what it takes and we're going to overcome it. So positivity is important to me, but if I let too many negative people into my circle, that would consciously or subconsciously rub off of me. And people say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So when it gets tricky is if it could be a close family member who is, say, the glass is half empty kind of person. And some tough choices can be made.
Yeah. Well, if we're not even talking about maybe political views or ethical views or anything, if it's just attitude, like that stuff rubs off on you more than anything else. Like if you surround yourself by people who are just really positive and like that every day is a fresh day and like, look what I'm going to achieve today, no matter what day it is. I love people like that. It's so good to have some of those. Maybe you don't want all of your friends to be
too
like
much.
that.
Yeah, can't be too much chirpiness.
But maybe 3 of those and 2 negative people out of your 5. That's not bad. I could deal with that.
Yeah. I'm reading the 5 a.m. Club at the moment by Robin Sharma, and lots of talk in there about mindset, who you hang around with, and about starting the day right. Which is another reason why I've never have, to be honest, taken my phone up to the bedroom. I know some people use their phone as an alarm clock, but I use, ding dong.
Again, I need to do that.
Don't want to say her name in case she starts squawking at me. Or this book, the 5 a.m. Club, talks just get an old fashioned analog alarm clock. So I don't want my first thing when I wake up to be checking the phone, because I know so many people who the first thing they do when they wake up is check their phone, check the news. It's like, let's face it, good news has never sold well. So I don't want to start my day by reading about COVID, about real stuff that's happening, of course. Again, not burying my head in the sand, but that's not a good way for me to start the day.
It's a big risk. It's more than a 50-50 that you're going to have a bad day. Like if that's what you start your day off with. And I am guilty for doing that. And I've just
Do you do it first thing?
Well, I limited myself to social media.
So you take your phone upstairs to bed?
It's my alarm clock. When I move...
Right, I know what to buy you for Christmas.
Based off what you've just said, the idea of having an analog alarm clock sounds like
the clock face with the two little bells on the top and the thing that chimes between them.
Do you have a landline at your house though?
Yes.
See, I don't. So if someone needed to get me in an emergency, I do need to have a phone somewhere that I could hear it.
Right.
So
okay.
maybe,
I'm not buying you a
other
landline.
side of the room. Oh, I don't really want one either, just because of the cold calls.
So why do we have? Because I mean, hardly. Well, actually, my mum used the landline, and my mother-in-law. There we go. There's another reason to get rid of it. But yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I suppose a lot of people don't have a landline. So yeah, it's important if it's an emergency, people can get hold of you. But yeah, having. If I took my phone to bed, it'll be the last thing I looked at, and it'll be the first thing I look at in the morning.
I've tried. So the thing I'm going to try, based off this conversation, to change, is that I have limited myself to social media in the day to first thing and last thing.
Oh, that's good.
So I don't look at Facebook or Instagram personally, except at these times, because I'm trying to reduce my screen time.
So what social media apps do you have on your phone?
I've got Nextdoor, which is a local Darlington community.
What?
Yeah,
You've got your own app?
No. So it's like a local social media, and they were promoting it a lot during COVID.
You're joking?
Yeah. So basically, everyone in not everyone. A lot of people in Darlington are all on this like closed like Facebook like.
Oh, it's a Facebook group, is it?
It's not. It's Facebook like completely independent.
Right.
And you can message people on it. We listed ourselves as someone who is willing to go get groceries for the elderly in the neighborhood, so they could just message us. You can post if a cat's missing or if you've got a business that's local.
Who on earth? Who came up with this? Who owns it?
I don't know who owns it. It might just be a standalone, to be honest. I'm really impressed with it, and it seems like one of those companies that could be absorbed at some point by a bigger company.
By Yell or something.
Yeah, it's really, really, really.
So is there a Nextdoor for Basin Hill?
Yeah, you just put your postcode in, and then you can see which one of your neighbours. It's really, really nice. Like people sell hilariously. People sell chickens on it and stuff around Darlington.
Oh, we're so Shropshire.
Yeah, it's that kind of level. So I've got that. I've got Instagram. I've got Facebook. I think that's it, really, social media. I used to have Twitter, and I did actually quite enjoy Twitter, but it was very time-consuming.
So what's the app that you check when you wake up then? Is it the news, or is it this Nextdoor or Facebook? Or
I check Nextdoor in case anything's burnt down.
Right, okay.
And then I check Facebook. I don't normally check Instagram until the evening.
Do you have a news app, or do you get your news through Facebook?
No, and I've been looking for one of those, actually, because I don't like getting my news through Facebook. I've recognised that Facebook is not a news platform. You might find news there.
What happened with it? Weren't they launching a kind of news sidearm and testing it in America?
I've not heard any news from that. It's hilarious. I haven't heard any news about their news platform. But yeah, they were launching it. And it was supposed to be I think they said it was going to be catered to you, but hopefully, and it's gonna filter out the fake news, so it'll be validated sources.
So another one of those sort of stalkery things where if I'm looking at loads of tennis pages, I'd be getting tennis news.
Yeah, I can only assume so. Yes,
I'd be getting lots of Star Trek news and then probably some running stuff. But
yeah, you can always guide that. I always tell people that if you ever get worried about tracking, you can tell it what you like. Just spend half an hour looking at things you like. You've told it.
That's it. Yeah. I think I could quite handle a good news channel. I could wake up to that. But I do think, I mean, it's not just because I'm reading this book. I'm a big fan of starting the day right. So, it's those funny little things like making sure I spend time with the kids in the morning. My morning dog walk is important. Or at the moment, I'm doing this cycle ride, this cycle challenge thing for Diabetes UK, so I'm going to cycle 250 miles across September. So I was out on the bike at 6 o'clock this morning, and that's a great way to start the day because even by the time I get in the office, which is way before 9 if I get up at 6, mentally I think I'm ahead of my competitors already. I've done what most of them probably haven't done, and I think if my day started off by seeing idiots on Facebook, not that most of my Facebook friends are idiots or anything, or the people I'm connected to on LinkedIn ranting on about refugees or immigration or something whose views I disagree with, I know I just need to get them out of my circles, or it would just have that influence on me. Hi there, it's Andy at Codebreak. Thanks for listening to the Stay Hungry podcast. It's business owners like you that keep the wheels of the world turning. Did you know that Codebreak offers a marketing consultancy service? Visit codebreak.co.uk today and book your discovery call with me or Joel, and let's skyrocket your business together. We can't wait to hear about your goals.
God, you're a professional.
I said to Joel the other day, I don't like that. I sound overly chirpy.
I think you could do that if you weren't a marketing director. I think that's a legitimate career option for you.
Oh, I don't know.
You did that in one take, as far as I can remember.
I like your one. You sound quite cool. No, I sound a bit like a children's TV presenter.
But some people aspire to be that.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Getting back to the starting your day with something like cycling or exercising, that's also really different to what you do in the day. So you've just achieved something completely separate, and you're coming into the day ready. I'd love to do something like that. I start with my dog walk. So
dog walks. I mean, so I'll use this fitness tracking app on my phone, and even when I go on the morning dog walk, I will set it to walk, and so I'll see that I'll do a 2-kilometre walk with the dogs, for example, down the bottom of the track and back. And it's like, wow, I've done sort of 160 calories.
Yeah.
And that's great. And I've done a decent amount of steps already. Whereas one of my friends who hasn't managed to escape London yet, during lockdown, he posted on Facebook saying, I think in 2 days, he'd achieved 227 steps. I was like,
wow.
It's like, holy shit, you're supposed to be doing 10,000 steps a day, Ian.
Where is that? Is that between the bathroom?
Literally to the toilet and back, I think.
To the office?
Yeah. It's like... Yeah, wow, right. Ian, you need to get a dog.
Yeah, I had a friend who refused to believe that 10,000 steps a day was achievable. And I was like, not only is it achievable, but if you're not achieving that, my mum does 20,000 steps a day. And she's almost 70 years old.
What does she do for a living?
She was a teacher. She's retired.
Wow, that's good going. Just walking about doing stuff then.
She just doesn't sit down in the day. She like me, she refuses to have screen time during the day.
No sat there watching telly with her lunch and stuff.
Yeah, I always say to my in-laws, and I refuse, because Kaylee works away a lot, so I have half of my evenings I spend alone. I will not spend those on the TV. Just won't do it.
Oh, so you won't Netflix or anything?
I allow myself to watch Netflix after 8 p.m. So
do you watch some series that Kay doesn't want to watch?
A very small handful. Cobra Kai.
She doesn't want to watch Cobra Kai?
She's only seen Karate Kid 2 months ago. So she has no nostalgia for it whatsoever. Whereas I was losing my mind watching that show.
I mean, pretty much me and all my mates got into martial arts because of the Karate Kid.
Really?
This was obviously 100 years ago. But, right, so you've done Cobra Kai without her?
Yep, yeah. What else do I watch with her? I watch a lot. There's a lot of YouTube stuff that she won't get on board with, which is when I watch a lot of I watch a lot of instructional videos on how to make videos, for example, just because I find it relaxing to listen to people who know what they're talking about on any subject.
I thought you'd get your video instruction all from Joel.
Oh, Joel knows. He does know his stuff, to be fair. But this is more professional level, movie production.
Oh, wow.
Just because it's an interesting industry.
And who are those podcast guys again, you said?
They're called Corridor Digital.
Oh, I'll have to go and look at them.
Their YouTube channel is insane, like really, really good. Because they do, they'll make like YouTube videos, but they're production level quality.
Wow.
Just concept videos. Really interesting.
So what else do you do then? If there's no screen time, say before 8 and K's not there, what do you read? Or
Look after the dogs, go for an hour walk, get outside. I read a lot, yeah.
What are you reading at the moment?
I am reading 3 books at the moment.
Oh, go on.
Classic self-destructive reader. I'm reading a book, a series by Aaron. Oh, I'm going to mess up his name. I get it right all the time as well. It's called Rivers of London. But his second name I will butcher if I don't know it straight away, so I'm not going to try and say it. But that's basically about a London. It's like a procedural crime novel, but there's magic in the world. So basically, he's a detective and a wizard, but it's set in the Metropolitan Police Force, and it's supposed to. They always pitch it as like if Harry Potter had graduated school and joined the Metropolitan Police Force, and it's like legitimately very nice to read.
Is it set in the current times?
Yeah.
What then? Rivers of London?
Yeah, Rivers of London.
Oh, cool.
Really good book franchise. And then I'm reading Nick Offerman's It's Not Every Tool's a Hammer. It's Good Clean Fun, which is all about woodworking, because I do woodworking in my free time, which is another thing I take up my time with.
Didn't know that either.
I've only just started it, but I'm calling myself a woodworker now, because I've made a spice rack.
I made an OXO cube holder at school, and my mum still got it. Craft, what do they call it? Craft design, CDT, craft design and technology.
Yeah, well, I think... So, like, going back to that, like, the reason I do woodworking is because I follow Nick Offerman and a few other woodworkers on YouTube, and I was just like, that looks like fun, and, like, I've listened to enough people talk about it, and I'm like, I'm gonna take that on, because it's all about, like, do this for mindset, and, like, I like the idea.
You find it relaxing, then?
So relaxing. Like, going into something, it's like, I'm gonna make something, I'm not gonna sell it, there's no pressure on if it's good, I'm making it good because I want it to be good. I just want to see how well I can make something.
I'll be pissed off if you get me a tent peg for Christmas.
I was really playing with the idea of making my Secret Santa this year.
Emma makes most Christmas presents for family. She makes her own soaps.
That's awesome.
Blinds, rugs, blankets, all that kind of stuff. But so have you got like a wood person shed then?
So I've got a recording studio.
Now.
So like,
who are you? Right, I need to pay more attention to what my staff are up to.
So me and my dad built a recording studio.
Well, I know your dad's like into. Yeah, he's got his video production, all this stuff. But
we've got basically in a hangar in in Monkmore.
Right.
We've got a section of that, and we basically built from like by hand, no contractors whatsoever. Really pretty good looking recording studio. I think you'd be impressed with what we actually do.
Wow, okay.
But inside there we've got like table saws, we've got hand saws, we've got pillar drills, everything like that. So I just started doing it there.
So what, your dad's handy as well then?
My dad is unbelievably handy. He's an artist, but he like everything he's ever used, like he does a lot of projecting. All of his rigs he's built himself. Built most of our house, to be honest.
So that's great to have, when you move house, all this stuff needs doing.
Oh yeah, and my father-in-law's also is a carpenter by trade, so like I've just got all this like.
Ah, yeah, because there's no one handy in our family, unfortunately.
I felt ashamed at how not handy I was this year, so I've set myself the task to become know what I'm doing.
That's fair, yeah, because I mean we're having a fence pulled out at the moment. We're paying someone to do that. But
missing out.
Yeah, it's really hard, I find, because there's some stuff I want to do, some stuff I feel I should be doing, but then there's also other stuff where I think, well, I could use that time to work on the marketing of the business, to grow the business, and sometimes it's a bit of a balancing act between them.
If you're doing something because you don't want to do it but it needs doing, you maybe get someone else to do it. But if you're doing something because there's a benefit to you, that's perfect.
I'm all up for stuff that's relaxing. Because like Joel talks about like cooking, he cooks a lot with Hannah. And he says he finds that very relaxing because obviously, it can be pretty stressful running a business at times. And he finds that relaxing. I unfortunately find cooking boring and I'm not very good at it.
You're like me, actually.
Yeah, I love the eating. Love the eating part of it, especially all the cycling and running I'm doing at the moment. I'm starving all the time, which is why I was so disappointed we had sandwiches in for lunch today. For some reason, I just assumed Emily was going to go down the pizza route again.
I think we didn't because we thought you were vegan.
Veganish, remember that's our new hashtag.
It was
veganish.
Mentioned really briefly, and I think it got shot down, the pizza idea. So
I usually have what's the veggie one that G orders? So
from Pizza Hut.
Yeah, so with a sweet corn, mushrooms, red onion on. So I suppose, it's got cheese in, so it's vegan-ish, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
But no, my egg sandwich today was that.
I honestly loved my sandwich today, so I have no regrets.
No, it was good. And I think Emma's doing a corn curry tonight.
Ooh, nice.
So have you been 100% vegan this year then? Or
Not
veggie?
even close. So I'm still pescatarian.
Right, pescatarian. Okay.
But yeah, 100%. We had one. I say 100%. 98%. We had a slip up because of the branding of gluten-free nuggets, which I have a massive thorn in the side for, because apparently gluten-free's colours. So okay, good little test. If you go to a freezer section, and there's a bunch of boxes with meat in, and then there's a bunch of boxes that are orange and green, you assume those are veggie.
Yes.
But they're not. That's the branding colours for gluten-free as well.
Ah,
so Kaylee
right.
accidentally picked up these nuggets because she's just like, oh, this is green, they're nice, and I'm in a rush, which is also a testament to branding.
Clever, good marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And then threw it in, and then we ate them, and we're like, bloody hell, these are good. Like these are so good. Who made these? And we're like, oh dear.
Oh dear. So it wasn't the meat pies we got in for our social media training client yesterday then?
No. I'm good at. I honestly don't miss it at all. In fact, I've managed to. So you were talking about people who go shooting and hunting and that kind of stuff way before. My father-in-law is from that world.
Oh, okay.
And this is a testament to who you hang around with, because he's never. We're really good friends. I get on with him really, really well. But I've never had a friend like him with that experience, because he was literally a gamekeeper his entire life.
Oh, okay.
And he's never had a friend like me. But we hang out aside from Kaylee all the time. He's veggie now.
Oh, right, okay.
From just talking with me and Kaylee. Like,
wow.
I went veggie. He took the piss out of me for like a week. Because he was like, oh, you won't be able to keep that up. And I told him, it's really not that hard. And then he was just... I didn't ask him to do it. He just... We went to a family meal. He's like, I'm going to eat veggie. And I asked him why, and he'd watched a documentary that had just tipped him.
Oh, which one did he watch?
He saw something... I think it might have just been on the news. It was like a stat about how many... It wasn't about the living conditions. It wasn't about anything. It was just like, this meat factory in Germany, this is the number of animals they go through in a day. And he heard that, and he loves animals, because obviously he has so many animals on his land that he looks after. He may have hunted, but it was always like in that instance.
Right, okay.
And he was like, that's too many. There's no way they can do that in a way that I would appreciate. So he's just like, and he has not eaten meat since then he made that decision.
Wow.
And I was just like really impressed. And I think that is that kind of what having somebody who's different to you brings in these ideas that you would never have considered until then.
I think so. You got people like that who sound very, very measured and make an informed decision. You have got people, I think, who do want to. They're so insistent they're right, and they want to shove that opinion. Now, that could be a meat eater who's convinced that, soy production is that's the thing that's killing the earth, not meat production. But then you've also got some vegans, and to be honest, I'm 90% plant-based, but there are some vegans out there who, wow, they're like the scariest people ever. They're so vitriolic to. Like I know one was there was a nature guy, not Ben Fogel. Someone like that who did the veganery thing. He got crucified by some vegans. I mean, one of them simply because he had a dog, and obviously dog ownership. Some strict vegans think, well, that's ownership of an animal and exploitation, and that shouldn't be done.
Only if you think of it like that.
And it's like yeah, wow. It's like my dogs look very happy. I've got to be honest. They know they're onto a good thing, but it's who you choose to hang around with, isn't it?
I think so. There's two things I want to address. One, yes, you can own a dog and it be a ownership relationship. But I reckon most of the dog owners I've ever met, like me, I appreciate those dogs being around. Like I have time where there's no one else in my house. They're the part of the family, and I think that's a two-way relationship. It's not an ownership.
Would lockdown have felt different for you if you didn't have the dogs?
Oh, so bad. I wouldn't have been out as much. I wouldn't have had the company. I talk to my dogs all the time, so I wouldn't have had half as much.
It's lovely when someone doesn't answer you back.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've got a young dog, so she tries. But yeah, no, it would. They add a lot of value to your life, and I know there's people who don't have that respect for the animals, but as a vegetarian, I love having that connection. And the other thing. I think there's extremes at both sides. So you're always going to find extreme vegans and extreme meat eaters. But I think half the reason they're extreme is because they don't manage their circles, like we were saying. Like, if you want to sit in the middle and probably be as close to the right point as you can be, you have to hear both sides and realize that life isn't black or white, and there's reasons why the world isn't vegan right now. But equally, there's reasons why people eat meat. Sorry, there is reasons why some people can eat vegan, and people do it for different reasons. Just actually like making the group that you engage with, like actually, what do you call it? What do painters do? What do galleries do? They get a collection. Oh, well, you're basically choosing who's in there. You're not just attaching everybody that you ever meet into your group and being like, this is a good representation of the people I want to be around.
Yeah, and I mean, we mentioned this word before quite a few times, but choice. It is your choice and responsibility. Like I remember, I was in a bad mood, been a bad day anyway, and I got this shirty email at 7:00 on a Friday, and why are you sending me this email? And the guy said, well, is it my fault for emailing on a Friday night, or your fault for having your email open?
Yeah.
And he was right, and it was my responsibility and my choice to have my email open, to read that email on a Friday night when, to be honest, I should have been sat with my wife and kids. And it's the same thing, like, if there's someone whose consistent views I don't agree with, well, I don't want to get in debate with them. It depresses me to hear that their right-wing views, whatever it might be, and they sound desperately unhappy underneath it all.
Yeah.
I just rather get them out of my circle. And sometimes if it is a friend or maybe even a family member, you just sort of unfollow them. So you're still sort of connected. They can't see that you're not friends with them anymore, whatever it might be, but you're not exposed to their stuff.
Don't get me wrong, there is definitely stuff that I block people for. So I said, like, have a healthy mix, but there are things like ethics, racism, things that, like, I will have a discussion with you about politics. I'll have a discussion with you about, like, green energy and veganism. I will not have a discussion with you about race, ethics of living, poverty, that kind of stuff. Like, those are, like, if you don't align with me on those few things, then we'll never agree, because I'm not flexible, and I know you're not flexible. So there's a few things. Yeah,
no, that's good. It's definitely some. Whenever we're onboarding a new client and social media is involved, we always say there are certain things. Just obviously have an opinion and stuff, and sometimes it's good to have an opinion that might encourage debate, and you get some good engagement. Obviously, I'm not talking about clickbait. Some people just It's. I don't think you should wear a mask in public. Discuss. I mean, it's like, oh my god. But I'm seeing really smart professionals on LinkedIn doing posts like that now, and of course they're getting the lols, they're getting tons of engagement, loads of free brand awareness. But it's like, is that what you have to do to market yourself now?
Yeah, and how much value did that really bring? Because you're not talking about your services. You're not providing any real value to anybody. It's just like an angry discussion.
I know.
and you're just getting two polarized groups of people to hash it out, and you just happen to be the medium in which they're doing it.
But you see that like 980 people have commented, and it's like, oh my goodness. I'm trying to think if we've ever done a sort of... Well, we've done some controversial posts, but a clickbait post now, there's a massive difference. And the more that social media can do to sort of come down on fake news, clickbait, stuff like that, then happy days. But again, that's your choice, just like who you hang around with in person.
Yeah, and there are some controversies, like you said, we've done it before, but there'll be, as a brand, there'll be a reason behind it. Like we'll talk about the Nike thing, which we did, because I mean that's relevant to us. Yeah. And we could be like, do you want a business that is as bold as this? Because this is like the top tier, or like who are you aspiring to be like as a brand? Like that's all relevant to us. Yeah. We didn't just go, "Ooh, this is happening." What do you think? Because like that's a different conversation, really, isn't it?
No, I mean it's strange. Even when I remember when we chose a charity to work with, we still had other people pop up on social media saying, "No, you shouldn't be supporting that charity. This one's better." And this was like, "Oh my goodness, listen, I just want to help someone." And I'm sure all charities are worthy, but I can't help them all. I could dilute your time and your money. So which is a reason why we focused on one specific charity.
Have a clear purpose. That's huge. Like we talk about that all the time in marketing in loads of different areas. But like, yes, we could divvy up our money between 100 charities, but is that really providing any of those charities with any benefit? Or does us focusing on one and helping and like educating, because you can't educate about 100 charities no matter how much you try, whereas you can educate and help if you focus on one, and you can do good things.
Yeah, focusing on one, that's a whole other podcast. I think, especially in our game in marketing, people they get their 60-second elevator pitch at a networking meeting, and they try and cram everything they do into that 60 seconds. Or they're producing a leaflet, they try to cram everything they do. No, one piece of marketing, one message.
Hey, it's Georgia at Codebreak. Thanks for listening to the Stay Hungry podcast. If you're hungry for more, don't forget to check out all the free marketing content on codebreak.co.uk.
The boom gets me literally every time.
See, that's
good.
Yeah, much nicer than my recording, that one. Got to say, that intro music, I don't think I'll ever get bored of that.
It's great, isn't it? We've tried a few different ones, and then Joel showed us that, and I was like, that is incredible.
That's awesome. So I think we're over 2,500 listeners now, believe it or not.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's
we're
pretty cool.
Some way now. What have we done? 100 odd podcasts now?
I'm going to stab. I think this will be 105?
Wow.
105, yeah.
We're even getting cocky now, maybe talking about doing a third podcast a week.
When's that?
Three a week.
Oh, wow.
So obviously the ones we record on a Monday are more about marketing and business. Then like today's one, Thursdays we record all about mindset.
Yep.
And just how important it is. And that even the people I've met, the business owners who you think have got the thickest skin in the world, they will even admit that sometimes people get through to them and will have an influence on them. And again, it comes around to those circles you hang around with. But I was listening to Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, and he was being interviewed. And even he was saying, because obviously he gets a lot of shit online, and you'd think he'd be just oblivious to it all. But he says every once in a while, still, someone will get through and it will affect him. And so it can happen to us all. Wow. And it's so important, because if you're doing great stuff at work, for example, or even great stuff at home, but there are people on social or in your life who you take one step forward, they always pull you 2 steps back. And to be honest, we see that in business. When businesses start growing, being successful, there are some people out there who don't like it. It's really. I mean, I love it when I read good news stories about business. Even when I read good news stories about competitors. Well, maybe not all competitors. I think, well done. I know. I remember this is a true story. It happened during lockdown. One of our clients, and I know how hard they've worked. They achieved a bit of a milestone in their business.
Yeah. They
got criticised for it online about. Do you realise there's a pandemic going on? Do you think it's the time? It's like, oh my god. Are we so British and reserved? I'm not talking about being bragging about stuff.
Yeah.
But if you've worked hard and achieved something, and I know again how hard these guys have worked, you should celebrate, because you've got to celebrate the wins. Because at the moment, sometimes it doesn't feel like there are many wins.
Well, I mean, it's not even just positive for them. Yeah, celebrate it and feel good about yourself. But also during that whole, the argument is ridiculous, because when I was in lockdown, any good news about anybody was awesome. Like, it was, oh, look, this is a good thing. Like, these people who are nice have got a nice thing and they've worked really hard and it's paid off. That's awesome. I would like that about anybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to see other people suffering or not. Or, like, the idea that people would be too afraid to share good news in a time of where people desperately need it is just missing the point.
Yeah. The really ironic thing was that about 5 weeks later, this lady had a bit of a win in her own business and was there celebrating on LinkedIn. It's like, absolutely classic. Well, I think we put the world to rights again there, Fergus. Don't know how long that one's been, but it's been a great episode. Love it. Obviously, poor old Joel's got a migraine today, but it's lovely to have you here in the mixing board. You need to show me how to use this, by the way.
It's actually really easy and very fun. So I made one mistake, and I hope no one picks up on it. So other than
cracking
that,
job. Great to chat.
One.